Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I'm Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Hello.
Ruben Bressler.
3 nudes, seriously? Could also be an option.
Gosh, we're going to stop at 3. I see how it is. Okay, fine.
Oh, that's
I mean, that's the thing you said.
Is the thing I said.
Because it's like the, you know, it's a pun.
It's good. And with that, we kick it off with our first pick and giveaway. The $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com is up for grabs. Type !raffle in the chat for your chance to win, but subscribe first, whether Bezos bucks or not, to get 2 chances to win. And as I recall, last week's winner subscribed, then raffled, and then won. So
yeah,
how about that?
Yeah.
And you help the channel stay here. We're still here to talk about Magic.
Yeah, we really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
And we'll talk more about some of that stuff later, and a really cool idea that will probably never happen. But
like your OnlyFans?
Hey, tell you what, barely there. The future of Magic. For our first pick here, there was an article by Mark Rosewater called The Future of Magic. He writes, of course, Making Magic every Monday and has for many, many, many years. And for what it's worth, I hope that, if one day Mark Rosewater is not going to last forever, but one day, if he passes the baton, I hope they also write Making Magic every week, because I feel like it's really great insight into the design of Magic. But regardless, speaking of, he had The Future of Magic, and I'll pull it up here on the screen because we have a really cool thing. It's gonna make me mad because it's not gonna work right, but I'm still gonna try. I'm gonna try. It's what I do. But either way, it talks about sort of the way that different parts and pieces of Magic work, the parts and pieces of design, what they use in certain sets, how they take existing mechanics, for example, like cycling, which is they brought cycling back, and they did 1 mana cyclers in Ikoria, and that was huge. And as much as I feel like we thought it was like too good or breaking type thing, it honestly felt great. I loved cards that were great early and great late. Absolutely.
I mean, it felt like they weren't. It in general, 1 colorless cycling feels busted. It feels pretty stupid. But it turns out that they're all medium fair. You can cycle your Drannith Stingers once you already have 1 in play. You can get rid of your Boon of the Wish Giver when you don't have enough mana yet.
Right.
None of them turned out to be completely broken and busted. Together, there was that, Zenith Flare deck for about half a second.
Yeah.
But in general, it seems to have paid off well. That isn't always the case, and sometimes they twist the knobs a little bit too far, but that's a great example of when it works.
Situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they bring it back, and they're like, it's fine, and then it has, impacts on multiple formats.
And then we accidentally treasure cruise the whole formats.
Right.
Treasure and dig.
Oh, yeah. And but it also mentions things like, Scars of Mirrodin had the -1/-1 counters and proliferate.
Well, I think he's saying that it helps to change the environment sometimes. He mentions that proliferate was broken because you were pairing it with -1/-1 counters and poison counters, which made it really destructive and, no pun intended, poisonous. But, when you put it in War of the Spark, where the emphasis is on loyalty with planeswalkers and, +1/+1 counters, it doesn't feel so bad. And I thought proliferate was very well received in that block and in Standard.
Absolutely.
And I enjoyed playing with it.
Yeah, reimagining already existing cards for new environments is very interesting. Jeskai Elder getting a reprint in M21 isn't, prowess isn't the focus as it was when Jeskai Elder was first printed. Now it's sort of just there, right? Yeah. And it wasn't busted the first time, it's not busted now, but another example is Solemn Simulacrum.
Yeah.
Coming back in M21. First, it was just another artifact that sort of helped the things go along. Then when it came back the second time, it was part of that 2/4/6 Primeval Titan ramp. Now it's seeing primarily play in this mono-black control deck, as far as I'm aware so far.
Oh, it did work at the pre-release. It was exactly the fixing that I needed.
So, yeah, I love it when they reimagine things that, what's old is new again and try again.
Yeah, and they have, Terror of the Peaks along with Baneslayer, whose protection now really matters.
Exactly.
Before it was just basically flavor.
Or cards like Azusa, where you look at Azusa as this powerhouse in Modern, and even doing some work in Legacy, and I've heard she's kind of a dud in Standard.
Well, wait till Zendikar. Wait till Zendikar.
Okay.
I got a
when
good
we have
feeling.
the Landfall set.
Yeah. I got a good feeling Landfall is coming
That's
back.
a plant.
Okay.
Azusa Lost but Seeking is a plant for a few months from now.
Exactly.
It's a plant. See what I
That's what you did. Rehabilitation of failed mechanics was interesting. He talks about Chroma being like whatever on Fifth Dawn, but actually worked okay in Theros, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't. I don't really want to mention Dredge, but
I mean, you can fix Storm and Dredge. Like, this is
you
fine.
can.
It's cue it
You
up.
can fix the way that they've fixed Storm and Dredge in the past. For example, the way they fixed Storm is if you cast X spells before this, or if you cast some number of spells after this, or something along those lines, you can fix Storm in that way. Dredge, there are cards that have the ability to come back to your hand from your graveyard or back into play from your graveyard that aren't necessarily Dredge themselves. The new Ghoul, for example, is a great example of a card that has an ability in a graveyard and pays you off for playing a graveyard strategy without being completely busted like the ability Dredge. There are ways to make those abilities better. Companion is one that they are probably not going to go back to the well to, but they could. They could make a fixed companion.
In all seriousness, sorry, words are hard. In all seriousness, though, there is a pretty big well to pull from. We've done episodes of our top 10 shows with our favorite mechanics or our least favorite mechanics, and you go down the list, and there are quite a few. You have horsemanship and ninjutsu, and you have flanking and banding, and you have rampage, and
they just brought back phasing, for God's sake.
Right, exactly.
I love phasing. Shimmer is one of my favorite cards of all time, and so I love that they're giving these mechanics another try.
Yeah, that's awesome. And they go on here, he talks about new frames. And I want to note here, I'm ready for the old frame. Wizards, seriously, make the beta/Ice Age version of cards. People will lose their mind. Like, they've been doing this with altars for years now, and Wizards is like, maybe we should change the frames. And it's like, you think? We've been doing it for a decade plus over here. And it looks great. I love all these super cool new frames. I love doing, sagas are fantastic. And the crazy stuff they've done with all the frames for the collector's edition stuff. I mean, honestly, the only dud was Theros. Theros Collector Booster was a complete wash. Every other collector booster, including M21, has been super duper successful.
Now, why was that?
I think people just don't like Theros that much. I really think that. I don't know what else to say.
It's tricky because I've always loved Theros. I'm a Theros apologist. I think it was just sort of the 2-for-1. I think it was a set that people were already meh about, and then you had the rollout being meh as well, where you had a trailer that people didn't know what was going on.
Meh.
It was underwhelming compared to the War of Spark. You had the botch story where they ended up shelving it because they screwed up with the Chandra Nissa thing. Right. I think it was just this confluence of things that went wrong. I think it was a decent set, though.
It was okay, but at the end of the day, just the collector booster stuff, no one was really excited about it. And as much as I enjoy Starfield stuff, it just didn't really catch on. But overall, the adventures are great. I love adventures. Let's keep doing adventures and stuff like that. It's fantastic. Double face cards, for me, this is this is just a windmill slam. Who doesn't love double face cards at this point, right?
We've already gotten to the point where we've passed Hadrian's Wall of saying, what, are we going to ruin Magic with double face cards? Obviously, we aren't. No. Are we going to be able to print them just by themselves as opposed to in a Werewolves only set? Well, we did, all of the stuff from Ixalan, so we're past that as well. Right. It's just a thing that we can do now. It's deciduous, I feel.
Right, because they had one of as Nicol Bolas in M19, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that
was the only one. This next part, though, I thought was super interesting. This is the punch-out technology that they originally showed in Amonkhet with the brick counters and the Embalm, the Exerted and stuff, and they later brought back in Ikoria because they have all the counters with lifelink and flying and first strike. And this to me says, look, there was a point in time which I felt it was a point of pride for Wizards to say, look, you can play Magic as long as you got 2 decks and a friend, or a deck and a friend, as they said back in the day. You can play Magic. You don't need any sort of special things to play. That's just not true moving forward. Like, you need, what's a food token? Which one is a +1/+1 counter? Which one is a flying counter? You need those types of things to help just play the game.
Yeah, my only concern with this, and I say this as somebody who now has a Cathril deck, and so I have to keep up with all my little ability counters because I'm going to need them at some point. And so, and Magic players are also historically not great about bringing their own tokens or their own dice or things like that. So it's a cute idea. I think it opens up some possibilities in terms of supplemental products. You see a lot of people on Etsy making their own dice and their own counters, so that's cool. But I think this is something that should be used sparingly because if this is a requirement and a deck like that takes off, I think there could be some conflict there.
So, sorry.
I was just saying, if it's like, it just should be used sparingly.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. They were in Amonkhet in regular booster packs. You had the brick counters, you had the +1/+1, -1/-1, and the exert signifiers.
And Embalm,
And Embalm. Like, they're fine.
They're fine.
I'm not excited to see it.
I just
like I am. Like, if I open a sheep token, you know, that's exciting because it's got its own art. It's something different. The pop out stuff needs to pop. It needs to make me excited like another card does. So there is a possibility there. I think that if you make the pop outs interesting or fun in some way, it's possible to do. Like, but it's not my favorite piece of technology that they have access to.
It feels bad too. Like when I first played the Cathril deck and I did my thing, I felt like a bean counter. I was like, okay, I need my flying and my death touch, and I'm like flipping it over, and everyone else in the pod is just like, girl.
Well, look, all I can say is that knowing kind of how Rosewater seeds things here and there, knowing how he comes back to different wells often. Sure. I would say that a card like the Fallen Apart, this is the card that comes into play with 2 arms and 2 legs, we're getting that. I don't know when, I don't know how, but Saga started that way, as you recall. They had a little marker that kind of moved down the card. Now you just add the counters or whatever. He keeps on mentioning, you know, there could be parts of the card where you put something on top of it or whatever, or you remove something. Sure. So, you know, like something like, I don't know, bomb counters or something, and you put it on a little thing and it, you know, blows up as a thematic thing, and that's it. And where it looks good in digital, for example.
Or you get like the Cloverfield monster that when you tear off parts of it, they become little skittery versions of themselves.
You know what Cloverfield is, you don't know who Billy Loomis is. What is that?
I didn't remember a character's name from the 2000s. Okay, it was in the 90s, wasn't it? Jeez, I'm old. All right. Either way, I just feel like, you know, he's kind of mentioned the punch-out technology, different parts of a card many times. Cards that can't go on your deck. This was weird. This came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
In Avacyn Restored, they had a mechanic called Forbidden. There were cards you put into your deck that allowed you to shuffle Forbidden cards into your deck because of such a large hoop. The Forbidden cards were allowed to be crazy powerful. So they're very splashy, but they're very narrow. It's, you know, it's something.
I remember playing against essentially something like that when when was this? I think this might have been Worlds in New York. It might have been Worlds in Memphis, where Mark Rosewater and Richard Garfield and a few other members, this was New York, were playing basically cards that they made up in against your deck that you brought from home.
Nice.
And Richard Garfield, his deck was full of stuff like that. His deck had like shuffle 3 blank cards into your opponent's deck kind of stuff. And, you know, shuffle cards that say something else into your deck and things along those lines. And Arena really helps with that implementation. Hearthstone's done this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, I could definitely see this.
Yeah, it's certainly something they could try again.
Must have been Memphis,
right? And it's something that they hinted back back in the day that Avacyn Restored had a mechanic that didn't work out. So maybe this was the one that they were talking about.
Right.
But it's definitely really interesting, and you could have shuffle a Time Walk or a free Time Walk in your deck if you get this one thing off, and maybe you'll draw it. Maybe.
Yeah, you have to play this 2/2 for 3 colorless and a blue.
Right.
That says when this enters the battlefield, shuffle the card Time Walk into your deck.
Right. So that would be
Okay.
cool, swingy, interesting. Talks about card components outside the deck. This would be emblems as a perfect example. The Monarch mechanic, which is really
Love
cool.
it.
Yeah, which is sweet. And
The
food
Monarch
tokens.
is so great. The Monarch is such a necessary thing for Commander, and you can implement things that are like, we don't have enough of. For example, in Commander, there's not enough attacking on early turns, so they made the Monarch. We don't have enough of whatever in our game right now. Give them an impetus to do that.
Right. So, and the food tokens that, the food tokens say what they do on them. Otherwise, you have no idea what a food token does or what it's supposed to do. It only exists based on the card telling you.
Right.
And lastly, I think, no, not lastly, we're getting there. Additional decks, this would be the contraptions, for example, from Unstable. I loved the contraptions. I thought they were super cool. I thought they were cool in concept. I never got to play with them.
Cool in concept.
Yeah,
Cool in
I
concept.
never really liked them.
That's
So
unfortunate.
every time I drafted Unstable,
I loved Unstable.
which I drafted a lot of Unstable,
Mm-hmm.
I never loved the contraptions deck. It was like a goblins red or a bluish, like re-roll your dice kind of situation a lot of the time. I never really figured it out. There are ways to make it work, especially because the contraptions count as artifacts. You can sacrifice them, for example. So you can reimagine them so that they are more fun, easier to implement, stuff like that. I thought they were okay. They felt a lot like sagas, honestly, because it goes 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, very
Right.
similar to how a saga ticks down.
But it just keeps going.
Right,
over
but it
and
just
over and
keeps
over
going forever.
Right.
But if you're playing a long game, like how many turns is a game of Magic? Going to be like 10 max. If you're
And
playing an
my
aggro
eyes
deck.
start to cross after turn 4.
Exactly. So
Please.
1, 2, 3, we're good.
again. Vintage players, am I right?
Exactly.
Look.
But I would say that I don't have as much experience playing with contraptions because I was always the augment deck, or like I had my face on the table because I had skull saucers. Like there's a bunch of weird
I
stuff.
love that card.
I love
so
that card
cool.
too. There was a really good cosplay of that card at GP Seattle.
Oh yeah. I think I know.
But my point is that there was so much weird going on already that it's tough to imagine something like contraptions in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Some mini games that he had brought up here, which is playing Hangman, for example, or a sub game under the table type stuff. This is the
Right.
Shahrazad stuff. Noting that there could possibly be mini games within Magic. They noted that War of the Spark played around with a mechanic called Skirmish, where how you succeeded in combat impacted how a separate mini game was playing out, which could be very interesting, depending on how they implement it.
Okay.
Again, this
we've
to me
had
says-
contested Warzone. We've had Clash. Like there are things you can do.
Right. There's ways you can have little mini things happening. I hated Clash because tournament
it's
players
stupid.
don't like that much variance. It's just really annoying.
Unless it's in a Blood-Braid Elf.
It's true. They're okay with it because who cares what he gets? Ham sandwich done.
Yeah.
But we'll see if we ever get mini games. And over here, sort of one of the last ones here is affecting deck construction. This is the companion mechanic. I think he
Too
noted
soon?
it's a 9 on the storm scale.
Yep. 9 on the Storm scale. It's up there with Dredge and Storm.
Excuse me. Where are we? 10? We're 10s.
Storm, I think, is 10 because it's the storm
Up there
scale.
with.
Dredge and Storm.
Up
are
there
10.
with. Up there with.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
companion can't sit with us.
Companion is just,
Fine.
man, I don't know what to think about Companion anymore. Now it's basically unplayable.
It's horrific.
It's tarnished almost.
Yeah.
It's just, look, and they talk about top-down designs, which is fine, where you take your theme and you keep going, which is like Innistrad
Right.
essentially
Right.
did great. But overall, the only thing I've ever said is that just keep pushing. It's okay that
Yes.
Companion didn't work out. It's okay that Oko was dumb. It's okay that Fires of Invention just can't last that long in an environment. We understand. I'd rather be pushing and banning and doing stuff actively than let's just have another boring
What do you
Mercadian
think
Masks,
about,
garbage.
There was
set.
some discussion the other day about the possibility of a reset set, a set like Mercadian Masks, where the power level is intentionally low to kind of reset everything because
Right.
we are coming off of years of these sort of broken formats. Like, what do you
This
think
was
about
a
that?
this was a Zvi thought
Yeah.
experiment
It
where he
was.
said that in order for Magic to survive, this sustained stepping on the gas isn't going to work. You have to let up, or else your horse will die. Yeah, I see it. I would rather rotation change. I think that rotation is kind of broken right now.
Okay.
There were a couple of years there where rotation changed and then changed back and then changed again.
I
and
mean,
we're just coming out of that. I don't hate the idea of powering down a little bit, but you know, you have something like a set like Ice Age, you have a set like Mercadian Masks, you have what other powered down sets happened after that? Kamigawa was a good example of that.
Well, Kamigawa was the result of Mirrodin being completely busted and whatnot. But now it feels like the modern thinking is that...
Ixalan.
Ixalan definitely was a kind of a holdback of power. But, you know, again, Wizards is trying their best to make these goals set by Hasbro, and I'll be honest, you're not going to sell as many packs if the cards aren't as exciting. And that's just kind of where we've been the last couple of years.
I mean, the rotation is like Inchworm now, right? Where it's like 8 sets and then 3 sets and 4 sets, 5 sets, 3 sets, 5 sets, 6. Like, it's weird. I would just rather there be the same number of sets in Standard, especially since we're off the block rotation now, and just inch it along. 8 sets in Standard.
Maybe.
Period.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, and they can still design for that.
2 core sets and 6 regular sets in Standard the whole way down, or 6 sets in Standard. 18 months, right?
Sure.
So you can have 2 core sets for 6 months of the year, right? Like, that's fine. I think that's the way to do it.
All right, let's move on here to Gather the Townsfolk. There is going to be a banned and restricted update on Monday, July 13th.
This came out of nowhere.
I know.
And notice Legacy is conspicuously absent from this.
Right.
People have been asking for an Astrolabe ban for a while, but apparently the results do not support it. There's a lot of theories as to what could be going. There was talk of wilderness reclamation. There was talk of one of the blinking effects in Pauper, like either Ghostly Flicker or Ephemerate or things like that. Modern, the snow control decks are apparently out of control. So there's talk of banning Astrolabe in that format. I really hope they just fix Pioneer. Pioneer's been in a really bad spot for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Those challenges have not been firing. That format really revolves around Inverter and Lotus Field, which are just miserable to play against. And so, that format went from being, the talk of the town to, and I think a lot of that came from, I think it really suffers from the lack of paper events, because it seems like they were really pushing it at the GP level, and now that's not there. But I haven't seen a format. I just remember how excited people were to play it, and now nobody's talking about it, and it's a shame.
So this is a little weird to me that we had a banned and restricted announcement,
right?
And then we banned Winota, like we just banned Winota, and that was fine. Now we have this announcement again. There's a large event this weekend, as there is every weekend.
Which is why there's no good answers for this, by the way.
Event.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, why are we doing it this way? What is the problem with doing what happened to Winota in the emergency, we're banning it at 2 p.m.? What's the problem with doing that?
When they first started doing that, or when they first sort of mentioned, like, hey, we were thinking of, hey, do we just announce it or do we not announce it? I'm in the camp that this is a good thing for them to announce that there's going to be bannings. Honestly, I wasn't expecting them to name the formats. Like, think about that. They've never, as far as I know, said these are the formats that are going to be affected.
I've been saying it lately.
And that's a good thing, because again, that's going to bring the community out to talk about those formats in particular, which cards in those formats. Because if they didn't list Standard, so we're not going to sit here and bother talking about banning anything in Standard, but we can talk about, hey, Historic has a Nexus of Fate problem. Maybe that gets out of here. There's a whole bunch of options. So it provides that community feedback. It provides more articles that talk about Magic, which is just good marketing for Magic. It provides articles that are about Magic, which are good for content sites. It gets us talking about it before it actually happens, so we can talk about what might or might not happen. So this, to me, like, they get to gather data up until the very last second as a result of doing this versus saying, surprise, it's busted, because Winota was just busted in that format.
I guess my only concern with that is that it leads to a lot of apathy in the formats, where you have people, like you said, that are preparing for these tournaments, and they're like, I have to play essentially a dead format, for the next week or so, and they just don't really want to do that, especially more of the Eternal folks. It does feel almost like a waste of time, and I understand that feeling.
I understand, but at the same time, it's a dead format the week before Zendikar comes out, right? Like, and that FNM isn't necessarily better or worse than any other FNM.
It's different that way, though.
It is different, but again, I just feel like the way we kind of shape how Magic works and the formats work and stuff, it's always been in flux, and it's always been like this thing that we've just been changing over the years.
Do we think there will be any unbans?
I mean, I'm always hoping for a Faithless Looting unban in Modern. I'm just saying.
They usually give us some toys back every other time.
Unbanned
right?
Dread Return.
I mean, I think. Well, I'm on hashtag free the tree. Right, I still think that there's a number between 0 and 5 of artifact lands that are okay in the format.
Affinity is effectively dead ever since they took Mox Opal away. So if you want to inject some juice into that, okay.
Yeah, I think that there's a number that puts it at that puts Affinity at tier 1 without making it the best in the format.
Well, I guess,
between 0 and 5.
I guess my concern is that the Urza decks are still the Erosa decks are still very much a thing. So I do worry about giving Urza artifact lands. Like if you could neuter the Urza deck, then I think it's safe to bring in the artifact lands, but I think as long as the Urza deck has any shred of dominance, you just can't do it.
I think they did. It's called banning Mox Opal.
Yeah, it's still a problem, but yes, I get that. There's also Green Sun Zenith. That I've heard bandied about a little bit for Modern. Probably still too much with Dryad Arbor.
See, I'm worried. I'm worried about the Allosaurus Shepherd. Like, I think I don't think you can put those two things together. Uncounterable Green Suns, I think it's just a bad scene.
Yeesh. All right, and for the awesome Pleasant Kenobi unbanned Twin, you cowards. Got it.
I do think.
I think Twin will be fine for what it's worth.
I think Twin it could be fine, but I just don't want to see it again.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I'm just saying I think it would be okay. Like I don't think it would be oppressively winning too many games. If that makes sense.
Honestly, I'd like to see Uro go. I mean, I don't have any proof of it, but it's just such a dumb card. These are not valid reasons. I know that, but it's such a dumb card. It just leads to really uninteresting play patterns. Mm-hmm. It's really, this idea that everybody wants to be playing green and be playing Uro. It just leads to really boring games in Magic.
Is Dig Through Time still legal in Pioneer?
Yeah.
Okay, that card's getting banned. That card, I mean,
Pioneer
right? Like
their challenges aren't firing. And
that's the Lotus. That's the only common card between Lotus and Inverter, right? They gotta ban Dig Through Time, I think.
Maybe. All right. That said, we want to mention some changes here to our Patreon.
Yes.
We have, first of all, a very successful Patreon. Thank you all so much for supporting the show.
Much.
We wouldn't be here for 5 freaking years if you guys weren't there for us. Yes. So patreon.com/magicmics. We got 2 levels, y'all. If you like what we do here and you want to throw us a buck, high five. We'll see you on the Discord server. And if you want to throw us $5, you can listen to us say a bunch of dirty words and talk about a bunch of crap. That is really sometimes weird and sometimes hilarious. And that's kind of where we're at.
And that's it.
That's it.
So we decided to get rid of some of our extraneous levels. It was becoming a lot harder to keep up with, and we didn't want to, not live up to expectations. We didn't want to let people down. Patreons, I think, always start off really ambitious. Like everybody who starts one is like, yeah, I'm going to have 8 tiers. I'm going to send you a bunch of stuff. And then the reality of it is that Patreon's a lot of work. And so, we don't want to disappoint anybody. You really are just kind of here for the content. We had tried offering additional tiers before, and to be honest, nobody really took them. So we just really boiled it down to the ones that are the most popular. The pre-show has always been our most popular tier. And so we also understand that times are tough right now. And so, give us a buck, give us 5. We're happy you're here, but let's just keep it simple and give you what we know we can deliver.
Exactly. We've been consistently bringing what is at the $1 and $5 levels month in and month out. Everything else has sort of been unpopular compared to those levels and difficult for us to maintain. And those two things put together, especially now in our current word that we don't say world.
Right. And when everything sucks, yes, it's even worse.
In the future, maybe tokens come back. I love our art. I love our Kickstarters. I love all that stuff. But for right now, streamlined, honed, and deliver on what we can promise.
Absolutely. So let's move on here. Aaron, tell us a little bit about Dustin Roberson.
I'm not going to cry this time.
No tears. All happy times.
Dustin is the only reason I can think of that I've ever cried on this show. The first time that Dustin's story was published, thanks to Corbin Hostler. So Dustin, where's the last name? Where'd it go?
Roberson?
Roberson, thank you. So Dustin Roberson has been a longtime Magic player. He's played on the Pro Tour. Dustin has Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which affects his ability to play Magic. It also affects the way that he uses a computer. And so with everything going on right now and the lack of paper events, he would like to play online, but he does not have the means to do so. And so Corbin has been, friends with him, has followed his story closely. And there is a computer with optical movements and targeting that he can use to play the game. But something like that is very expensive. And so So Corbin started a GoFundMe. They were only looking for $2,000, and in 4 days they raised over $2,300. And you can still contribute to this. Anything raised beyond that will go to Dustin and his father for their bills and expenses, which have to be quite high. But this is just a really beautiful story. This is the community banding together and just making sure that the boy can play. Like, let's at least give him that.
Absolutely. So this is a good feel-good story all around. You know, no tears. We're good. We're good.
We're good.
Dan, or Dustin, rather, you're great. Keep being great, and we hope that stuff helps out as much as it sounds like it's going to.
Yeah.
This weekend, everything sucks. Dragon Con finally pulled the trigger, which we knew they were going to pull and wouldn't pull
That was
for
in
months.
Georgia, right?
That's the Atlanta, Georgia
Atlanta,
one.
yeah, Atlanta,
Okay.
Georgia.
And that's one that was holding out for a while. They thought that they were going to be able to. This is one right when everything started kicking off. They were like, "This is the line in the sand." I think.
Right.
People were like, "Is this the one that can happen?" And I'm glad to see that Dragon Con has decided at this point, as we all know, as things have developed, conventions aren't going to happen. They're just not going to happen.
It's not a thing we get to have this year, y'all. It's just not a thing we get to have.
I like the last tweet in their thread here. They say, in the meantime, we ask our fans to be like our favorite Mandalorian and never take your mask off in public. Like, that's awesome.
This is
That's
the
actually
way.
very dope.
I was chatting with my LARP Discord, and I don't think we're going to have a LARP event, which is 400 people outside
Oof, no.
until March 2021. Personally, that's my guess.
And that might be
now-
ambitious, quite frankly.
And again, exactly, that might be ambitious. Who knows? Although people are getting sent back to school in the fall, and other, people going to the beach, and Florida being Florida, and lots of stuff like that. So we'll see how it develops.
that make me
But
sad.
conventions with thousands of people inside in a convention hall rubbing up against each other, it's just not going to happen.
It's rough. Pete Venters, popular magic artist,
Yeah.
Old school.
is putting, old school. 25 years after his creation, he announces that the Baron Singier artwork will be auctioned on the MTG art market at the start of August. Wow. And that is a hell of a piece of magic history right there.
Yeah.
A card that, for what it's worth, it's weird because, you have this push and pull of the artwork is iconic, the
Yes.
card is crap. So, like, the card's never going to be reprinted in any form that makes anybody happy in terms
Well, I
of
think
with this
Baron
art.
Singer is getting a new card, just not this.
Right.
It's the original card that's bad, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, when the original card is amazing and the art is, classic, that's when you hit it out of the ballpark, right?
Right.
But the art is classic. Card, not so much.
Does anyone know what it's going for right now?
Well, it's not even up yet, so
Okay.
it won't be up until the start of August. So
Okay, sorry about that.
Right. So the question was sort of, where's this going to go? Like, we've
Right.
seen $30,000-$40,000 pieces. We've seen pieces we thought that were going for that, and they go for like 12 or 10.
Exactly.
Where does this fall in it? I've seen people go as high as six figures. I've seen people go as low as 10,000. Like, I'm not exactly
Six
sure.
figures? No way.
I don't think so either. I'm just saying I've seen numbers, and so
The most expensive card, the most expensive art record got set, I think, 3 times in the last year. Around $35,000.
Oh, my
I think
goodness.
is the
That's about right.
number.
So this could set 50K, 70K.
I was looking at Pete's Twitter feed, and apparently he was at Eternal Weekend last year, and he drew Lake of the Dead on the back of a necromancy, and oh my god, it's perfect. Like,
Wow. Yeah, so this is just great. Like, I love magic artwork. Original magic artwork is so cool, so iconic.
Yeah.
And, there's only one painting that it represents itself on the card ever. Like,
Right.
those alpha paintings are worth actual infinite at this point, no matter what you got.
Do you have a Baron Sengir in your Kalim Sham EDH deck? Because it makes +2/+2 counters?
Callum?
what?
Whatever that counters EDH deck you have is.
Catherall? Excuse me,
that's
I
the
am
one.
putting ability counters on. I'm not putting +1/+1s like on some Celestia loser.
+2/+2.
Wow.
I'm putting Death Touch, Indestructible,
Celestia
Double Strike,
loser.
Vigilance, Lifelink. How dare you?
Goodness gracious. Well, look, let's talk about something super, super good. Aaron, tell us what happened with Jess Estefan.
Yeah, so Jess Stefan is a pro Magic player. She's been on the Rivals League, made herstory as the first non-Magic player to win non-male Magic player to win a GP, and she's getting married. She has been with Brock Parker for quite some time, who you might know through the poker scene, and they've been doing the long distance thing. I think they've been together for a little over a year, maybe even 2. Yeah. And he apparently proposed to her, and she said yes. And so I am always here for people receiving good treatment, and I wish them the best.
Yeah. Brock Parker, my former roommate when I lived in Las Vegas with Efro, Brock Parker, Tan and Grace, some other folks who were, Dave Williams was in that house for a little while. And Brock also one of only 2 Magic players to win a Pro Tour and also win a World Series of Poker bracelet. The other being Sigurd Eskeland. For you Magic factoid fans out there. Brock is a great dude, and he's quiet and he's reserved, and I'm excited that he's found someone to be quiet and reserved with.
Yeah, because Jessica's pretty introverted.
Yeah, they're not super public. They're not, they're not doing commentary on on the regular.
Right, with PDAs included and stuff.
Exactly.
What you trying to say?
Listen. It takes all kinds, and I'm just super, there's somebody out there for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is great.
Yeah, congratulations to her. And let's go ahead and move on here to Desperate Ravings. Channel Fireball Events took down their staff page on Facebook. Now,
Egads.
Arguably, this is a little alarming because, for all intents and purposes, this page is free to exist. There's no need to delete it. It could live out there, honestly, forever and ever. Okay. Very little maintenance. It just has people attached to it. Okay, cool. But to actively remove it sounds like the rumbles we heard for months and months about CFB events and its own future, because there's not a lot of events in our future.
How does Facebook work exactly with deactivating pages? Because is it like Twitter? Because I've deactivated my Twitter profile before, and then you just hit a button and it's back. So do we know if it's like gone?
As far as I know, it's probably just deactivated, and they can just hit a button and it comes back. But again, to actively go out and actively turn it off is like, that was...
who knows?
That was not necessary.
What's the writing? The writing on the wall. Context clues suggest. If I were Plato in the cave, looking at shadows on the wall, I would say
what part of the elephant?
Like a rabbit. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. What part of the elephant are you in? All right. So, Ruben, tell us about what happened to Reckful here, and how Mark Nestico's article is attached to it.
So Reckful was a very popular, very groundbreaking streamer, particularly in Hearthstone and
World of Warcraft.
Right. Extremely popular. He passed. The announcement is that he passed away originally from Slasher. The announcement was made on Slasher. That Byron Bernstein, better known as Reckful, passed away. And it later was announced that he took his own life on July 2nd. And Reckful has been... those of you who are fans of Reckful know that he is very open and very... he talks about his mindset.
He had therapy sessions on camera.
Yes, in games and in life. He brought himself to the Twitch stream, which is a thing that a lot of people do. We do that a lot.
Sure.
And it can be a blessing and it can be a curse. And unfortunately, the toxicity of a portion of his, I hesitate to call it a fan base, his viewers were not kind. It is a example of a microcosm of how the internet can be used as a tool for violence. The World Wide Web is good. It is also very bad. And Reckful had other things in his life. Everyone is fighting battles. We know no one. You don't know what's going through anybody's head at any given time. But in this particular case, it showcased a problem specifically with Twitch chat. The ability for moderators and creators to control their channels, and what can happen when that gets out of hand.
And there were a lot of clips going around of people just spamming his tweet with messages to kill himself. You know, he had at one point, I think in 2016, he even just point blank asked people, like, could you stop? Like, like, I can't take it when you do this. And so, you know, this is just another reminder that words mean things. And, you know, it's very easy to forget that there's somebody on the other side of the computer when you are, you know, playing a game like League of Legends, or you are playing Hearthstone, you are playing Magic. You know, you can't tell people to kill themselves, you know, and I'm guilty of it too. You know, I was in the culture for a while. You know, when I came out of World of Warcraft, I used to say, you know, die in a fire all the time, you know, and I didn't understand the significance of that because I had never had to, you know, I spent so much of my time looking at a screen and looking at an avatar, it just didn't even occur to me that that was hurtful. Right. And so, you know, we're all having to look at the things we say and, you know, not calling people cancer and not, you know, telling people to get diseases and things like that. And, you know, it's been a problem for a while. And, you know, there are always situations like this where, you know, we take a moment and we reflect, and then unfortunately it kind of goes back to business as usual. But it does seem like, you know, this did strike a chord with a lot of people. There were some really touching memorials that happened in World of Warcraft. I think people packed the Stormwind Church.
They did.
And that was really beautiful. But yeah, you know, Twitch, you know, you have to give the people these tools to be able to fight this sort of thing. You know, people need to be better, and just a lot to take away from this.
Now, there are a couple of things here. One is people do need to learn when they need to disconnect, right? I need to know when to put the phone down. Erin's very good about this. Erin knows when to shut down her Twitter when she needs to. Yeah, and that's correct. That's the correct move to make. But the impetus shouldn't be on us.
Right.
At least not entirely. We, of course, need to learn self-care. We should know when to not, you know, walk directly into a violent situation. The impetus is also on the people coming to the stream, the community who should be self-policing in some ways, and the company that runs the channels, in this case being Twitch. And so there's a lot to learn here. There's a lot to unpack here. And one of the connections to Magic was written by our good friend Mark Nestico, who is Dynamo Nestico on Twitter.
Who also just opened a card store, apparently. And so he's been tweeting deals like crazy. He gave me a great deal on a Dockside Extortionist. So if you're looking for a bargain, go ahead and hit him up.
And he is he's a Florida player, so I'm sure that you're familiar with him. And I've known him for a decade, at least. He's been around forever, and he wrote a really spectacular article on mental health and Magic that talks about how the game that we play can be bad, how it can be good, how it can be therapeutic, and how we can better interact with each other going forward. And it's sad that we had to have this wake-up moment where one of the world's favorite Hearthstone streamers, well-regarded and beloved, and someone who was able to have this kind of power on WoW servers, every WoW server immediately had vigils in-game for this person, that we needed to have this kind of moment. I pray that we don't need to have this kind of moment going forward. I hesitate to say that we won't.
Right. I mean, ultimately, this article is about, you know, it's okay to play Magic, but to try to live Magic was essentially the warning, which is, you know, you can love Magic, but don't live it, because if you try to live Magic, you hit those lows and you hit those losses, and those things will affect you to a unhealthy degree, essentially, is what he was explaining.
I think that comes with any game. I think, you know, we've embraced gamer as being such a part of our identities that, you know, we don't really separate it. You know, we're so proud of that fact, and, you know, we're in a time where you can, you know, unapologetically, you know, be a nerd and be geeky, and with that comes wanting to do that thing all the time, and you know, meeting people from it. But, you know, there has to be, you know, I think it's important to have spaces other than that. Correct. And, you know, it's especially with Magic, it's very tricky to just sort of go in. It's very easy to go in head first, and you know, when you don't know how to disconnect, or, you know, other people are also involved in it and then therefore get super passionate, it can be a dangerous combination.
Right. And I don't mean to imply that we've never dealt with suicide in Magic before. There are several cases, but it is a grim reminder and an opportunity for us to grow and change again.
There you go. Hate to keep putting the spotlight on on this one, Ruben, but I feel like you would be the one best to discuss it. Orion Black was... Orion, sorry. Orion. I'm sorry. Orion Black had been working on D&D and had tweeted out that WotC has come out with this blog post about increasing diversity and fixing a lot of D&D's issues surrounding race, both in the game and in the office. It's helpful, but also late. They've silenced myself and others very poorly, and were silenced by NDAs. Well, guess what happens when that happens? They say, I cannot legally say anything specific, or I could lose my job just for saying this, but it needs to be said. Follow the actions, not just the words. And sure enough, he
Spoiler
replied,
alert.
Right, they replied with, I just destroyed my whole career. Oh, well, let's go independent, baby.
Yep, and lo and behold, on the 3rd, he reported that he was no longer working at Wizards of the Coast.
Well, they use they and thems.
Oh, sorry, they. Sorry, they and them. They reported they were no longer working at Wizards of the Coast. I'm assuming those two events are related. We have long talked about how Wizards of the Coast keeps tabs on social media. What's up, Wizards? How you doing? They probably watch, everything that you make. And if you, and Zame touched on this as well. And actually, Orion referenced Zame in their note from the 3rd, talking about how they're no longer working at Wizards, working on D&D. It's too bad that I've used my F-bomb for the year, because boy, was this a mess that happened.
Yes, hot mess.
And it's all very subtle, it's not an overt, no one's using slurs, no one's being physically violent, no one's, it's nothing that you could really prove to a certain extent. It's these microaggressions of, taking your ideas and somebody else getting credit for them, being kept in these sort of entry level, or low level positions and not being given opportunities to rise. It's about people doing the bare minimum and then kind of patting themselves on the back to say, well, of course we have, black folks who work here, but, they're, they will never get to be on these design teams, and we will never do this. And
they're always temp, they're always contract.
Right. And so, what they're saying is things that just sort of very, very read between the line kind of moments.
This makes me so sad, because I love everything Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. I love it. And yet...
it is like there. I don't like how you want to describe a culture. I don't know, but you have a culture at Wizards that says if you like or like a tweet or a post, if you retweet something, if you or even follow people who speak ill of Wizards, you can lose your job in an instant. It's a silencing tool, and they can.
I had a very difficult time wanting to celebrate Independence Day this year, and I'm going to take this in a weird direction, but I think you'll see why. Because I don't particularly feel patriotic. I don't really want to celebrate America right now. I feel the same way, in some ways, about Magic. I love Magic. I love that I've been playing it since I was 12 years old. I love Dungeons and Dragons. I love that it's a machine for teaching empathy, that it makes people better people. I think that Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons literally mean... Like, I am here because of those games, right? I also suffer from depression, from anxiety, from mental issues. I have been in those dark places. Games, and specifically games made by Wizards of the Coast, have pulled me out of those dark places in multiple times in my life because of the people, because of the machine that they've built. And yet... the things I love can be better. That's why we're here. That's why Magic Mike's is here. That's why a lot of these shows are here, is because if it couldn't be fixed, this show wouldn't exist. If we didn't think that there was an opportunity to improve, we would stop making this program. We want better. And this is, Zame's post, Orion's post, it all adds up, and I don't know how to fix it, and none of us do. They're trying. There are small moves. I want to think they're trying. Let me rephrase. I want to believe that they want to be better.
Well, I'll go ahead and wrap something we had in a different category. Wizards put a disclaimer on some Dungeons and Dragons content.
Oh man, hold on.
And
Queen Marchesa's back and gave us
my lord,
a lot of stuff.
Queen Marchesa, long may you reign. Goodness gracious.
What happened?
115,000?
11,000.
Oh, 11,500 bits came in, which is incredible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
they were giving me tax advice earlier, which was really lovely. They said in my DMs, like, so I heard your taxes were a mess. And I was like, go on.
Do tell.
Content creation.
But they had put up a disclaimer above some of their legacy content, like Oriental Adventures,
Yeah.
which is a long list of harmful Asian stereotypes.
Yeah.
Which was a problem. So
Yeah, you should probably sit that one out.
yeah, not mentioning that. Thank you. But look.
Oh man.
They had
Relevant.
basically Wizard of the Coast had taken what was originally Warner Brothers' statement on old, basically racist cartoons, and kind of functioned it for their own purpose based on D&D. And what little of it was a lot of sort of copy and paste, and they added a few lines after that talked about how they like diversity in D&D and they're working to do better. But and we were talking about this in the pre-show. It's like I get that it's a little. It's a little tone deafy to just copy paste, but at the same time, like that Warner Brothers statement probably took weeks, if not months, to come up with, to just frame it the right way, to try to explain it in a certain fashion that just doesn't like crap all over the old stuff, but also notes that we're not like this anymore. So like I recognize that it was not a bad idea necessarily to take something that was already existing and function it for yourself.
So the problem is at this point, the changes that need to be made at Wizards, the problems that exist at Wizards are so deeply ingrained within the company, and this isn't excusing, this is a fact, that it's going to take a really long time to fix them.
Yeah.
And the idea that it's going to be fixed in a week or 2 weeks or even this year is unrealistic.
Right.
I don't know what people want at this point, and I also don't think that some of them know what they want either. There is a lot of valid criticism out there, but to expect everything to be fixed in this short amount of time is not going to happen. And so, I'm kind of in the same boat as Ruben, that I want to believe that they are trying to do better. They need to be given the space to do better. They're not going to get this right out of the gate. Nobody gets this right out of the gate. And this idea that it's supposed to be perfect, and then if it's not perfect, it's completely, unsalvageable and doomed. I just don't know what people want, quite honestly.
100% agree. I think that
Don't let better be the enemy of perfect or good or whatever. Don't good be the enemy of perfect.
They're trying. You need to give people a chance to redeem themselves. Because if there's no recovery, if there's no path to salvation, what is the impetus to try? You need to have patience. I want to hope they're trying. All of the signs that I can see, not all, many of the signs that I can see are that they're trying.
Sure.
Orion.
Right, and to be fair, it's not up to us to tell you how to feel.
Exactly.
If you see that apology and you think it's bunk, you are allowed to feel those feelings. I'm just saying that for me personally, I am willing to give them that time. I'm willing to give them that space. I don't even know necessarily what I want to see from them, but I would encourage people who do feel slighted by a lot of what has happened to give them the opportunity to do this. And if you can't, I can't tell you to do that, but I don't know what to say when I see people that, if it's not right out of the gate, they're out. And I'm like, I can't relate to that. Like,
yeah,
sorry. No, I was just going to say that we, on this show, are all white people. And so we can't give you that angle on things. Right. I'm hopeful that there are shows that exist that can. That is not, that we can't do that.
For example, we want to see, if you would like to see more black artists in Magic, that can't happen overnight. Like, it's going to happen next year around this time.
Well, they'll get hired, but you won't see the fruits of that labor for many years down the line.
Right. And even the artists themselves can't say anything about it because of NDAs. So you wouldn't even know if that was a thing that was happening. Yep. So, there's certain things where I know that they work on things, and it frustrates Wizards internally when we complain about something or something's not being reprinted or whatever. It's like, Oracle Moldiah hasn't been reprinted since when? And they're like, it's coming in Jumpstart, but we can't say anything. Those are the types of things they have to deal with. So if we're like, man, there's just no black artists in Magic. They're like, well, we reacted to the Black Lives Matter movement, but you ain't gonna see it till 2021.
Exactly.
And then we'll see what happens then.
Yes.
All right. So let's move on here. Is there anything? Okay, so there's definitely one thing I want to touch on. If you guys would want to touch on some other subjects, that's fine. But in Going Infinite, which is the segment we always get to, which I enjoy, Jerry Thompson earlier this week had mentioned an article on Forbes.com.
This sounds brilliant.
Oh my God, it's so brilliant. It destroyed me. It was so brilliant.
I could hear it in your voice when I read the tweet. I was like, he's losing his mind.
Look, I know a good idea when I see it, okay? That's a thing. I've always felt it's been like a superpower of mine. When I see something, like for example, when I saw YouTube, I was like, the future is YouTube. I bought myself a camera. Here we are, right?
Yeah.
This is unbelievably good for both the gaming industry and the gaming publisher and the streamer / the person who is promoting your game. Let me explain. Bungie makes this game called Destiny 2. Destiny 2 has these things called shaders, which are essentially different sort of paintings or different sort of skins for, different color skins for your stuff. And Destiny players love them. That's totally awesome. And they basically said, look, Bungie came up with a new bounty in its official Destiny 2 Twitch extension, where if you gift 2 subs to a channel using the extension, you get an emblem and the above shader, silver and purple, based on the color scheme of Twitch, for example, which is really cool. The end result has been unfreaking believable. The Destiny 2 streaming community getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in aggregate, and for higher profile streamers, like for them personally, if not more, just for this shader, like it's ridiculous. And so, one half of this is Destiny 2, Bungie gets $0 from this. They don't get any money on this. They get nothing. They had to make the shader, implement the shader, make the shader work with the extension, all of that to get nothing back out of it monetarily. However, there's an argument that they're getting so much good press, so much good streams that people are getting excited. Yeah, the whole community comes together for it. The community loves this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. If there was, one of the comic book artworks from Ikoria that you needed to donate 2 subs to get it on this channel, I'm pretty confident our subscriber count would freaking explode, because that's kind of how it works. Now, at the same time, Wizards is a subsidiary of Hasbro Incorporated, and people often get frustrated with me at explaining ways that Wizards can make money off this. I'm sorry, it's just how the world works, and if I don't tell Wizards how they can make money off of it, they're not going to pay attention. So, what I had mentioned
we got
on
more bits.
First of all, you're incredible, and we love you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Queen Marchesa, you're incredible. But what I said was, look, Wizards can make money off this. You say, hey, as a channel, would you pay $50 a month to get custom sleeves, custom cards, card styles and stuff that you can only get by gifting subs on your channel? That gives Wizards the impetus to pay an employee to make this happen every month and get different stuff that you can have and offer to your viewers all the time. And it gives them the ability to pay for what would be a full-time job making that stuff happen. Now, wouldn't I like free stuff? Wouldn't I like Wizards to just copy Bungie and give us card styles and stuff? That's cool, man. But look, Wizards is looking to double their revenue in 5 years. Like, you got to pay attention to the business side of things, or it's just not going to work. And I just feel like there's a lot of channels who would buy in on something like that.
I guess I'm confused why you're saying that it has to change, because it's obviously working for Bungie. Like, Bungie's not a mom and pop company. So why are they able to eat it and Wizards can't?
Because Wizards likes to make money. And Hasbro likes to pay their shareholders. I'm just being real, y'all. Like, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. I'm just saying Wizards likes profits. There's nothing wrong with that. We're in a capitalist society, and they want to figure out what's in it for them. What's in it for Bungie is about exposure and about building the community and helping out the streamers.
You could also tie this to that. You could tie this to the to the content creator program, which is currently in shambles right now, where, if you want to make people care about that program and make people want to be a part of it, this could be a way, if we're going off of thought experiments, what better way to say, we're sorry and we value you than give you some things and plug income directly into your streams.
Yeah, and as thank you, Raiden, Bungie is a subsidiary of Bungie. They control themselves. They are themselves. They have no masters that they have no, look, there are, earnings expectations for a company like Wizards of the Coast that's owned by a larger, corporate.
Okay, so it's a
brand.
subsidiary thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You got to make sure the man's happy, and they're not by themselves anymore. They're owned by a company, so they have goals. I get it. I'm just trying to say this is a great idea. Wizards, don't let it go. Maybe it's part of the creator program. Would I pay for it? Yes, I would. Would that get you revenue that you want? Yes, it would. I'm just saying this idea is so good. It's so good. I would love to get it free, and I would love to us just to have the benefits. But I know Wizards isn't going to put that type of effort into something they get $0 out of. So
last one I wanted to reference is Coalesce Apparel and Design. And we can just real quick, $7,000 donation to the Black Lives Matter movement from Cedric Phillips and company. Today is a great day to arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Good job to Coalesce, good job to Cedric, and well done.
Absolutely. They posted it on their Twitter right here. Bring it up here on the screen so you guys can take a look at it. $7K, that's real life stuff that you guys help make happen by buying that apparel. So
that's American dollars.
That's Scrabble, which is made by Hasbro, has come to an agreement with Major Scrabble Players Association that they will ban the use of slurs in tournament play. Hey, was this not?
How is this not a thing, right? Like, if I see a slur on my 7 tiles, I'm like, I got the triple word score, but
there were some black players in that article. They're like, look, if it's going to get me the score I need, like, okay. And it's like,
jeepers.
I'm like, do I really want to put like a weird slur for anything on there? I mean, seriously. I mean, not just the most extreme. I mean, seriously, like anything,
It's just slur. You can still use dirty words, though, right?
Dirty words, not slurs.
Okay.
Right.
No, I gotta know to what extent we were doing this.
I'm not even going to bring up any examples. That's what's going to happen.
Of course not.
Because nothing good comes of it.
We all know what we're talking about.
Right.
You can find those examples in our pre-show for $5 a month.
Hopefully
gracious.
Not the slurs, the dirty words.
Oh
the
my
dirty
God.
Words. The dirty words.
The dirtiest of words.
The dirtiest
of
words.
Let's turn the corner here to the finisher. 2020 just got a little closer to rapture time. Magic commentator, writer, editor, content creator, L5 judge emeritus, and godfather of Commander, Sheldon Menery, has built a competitive EDH deck.
Oh, geez.
Now, the patron saint of casuals everywhere, building a competitive Commander deck isn't in and of itself a hamburger. I'm sorry,
harbinger.
A harbinger of the apocalypse. It could also be a hamburger of the apocalypse.
A hamburger
you
of
don't
the apocalypse.
know. That made it funnier. But tell me, what other moves in Magic could make you question how much longer we have on this earth, Aaron?
Well, I've known for a minute that the beginning of the end is coming. Not because there's more banned cards this year than in a fake ID convention. Not because more painters have gotten tagged in the last 2 months than an itty-bitty graffiti committee. It's because I'm starting to like red spells.
Oh my God.
Hanging that mountain has done things to me, y'all. Like, I have purchased goblins. I have goblins on the way here. Like,
wow.
That Muxus Tiny Bones mashup is like, it's everything.
It's literally
that we
us. Like, if we had a baby, it would be like a Muxus Bones. Like, tiny Uxus.
Ruben?
I'm still focused on hamburger of the apocalypse. That was
a burger does sound really good, right?
I saw it. It's very similar in the way the word's shaped, and
Yep. Nope.
That's what my brain did.
Hamburger of the apocalypse is my new Twitch stream. Well, nothing is real. Time is meaningless. This year is simultaneously 10 years and 10 minutes long, and the only constants that remain the same, that never change, are death, taxes, and, speaking of death and taxes, white being bad, which is why my sign of the apocalypse is card draw coming to white.
Uh-oh.
Maybe, just maybe, before it all collapses, we'll see a basic plains make a top 8 again.
Oh, man. That reminds me, I have to buy a Mangara before it spikes.
Oh, yeah, that card's going to be stupid expensive for long. But look, there are any number of reasons to think the end times have arrived. Death, disease, destruction, de-escalation, demonetization, demonization, damnation, and double Masters VIP boosters, especially that last one, to name a few. And now, even how much cloth you're breathing through when you leave the house is a line in the sand. But I have hope. As long as Shiro Kibler stays with us, I know we'll be okay. Happy 14th birthday, Shiro.
Oh, man.
You're great.
Biggest
That's going to outlive all of us.
I don't have any pillows with my face on them, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Shiro.
You could, though, if you open your OnlyFans.
Tell you what.
True.
Hashtag barely there. That's right.
We had one last bit donation from JDubs 2008, 11 bits, and said that they want this to be the first investment in Barely There. It's my first payment to Barely There.
Oh my God. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. This was a great hamburger of things to come.
It was the bacon on my cheeseburger, that's for sure.
There you go. Perfect.
Been a minute since we ran that one out there, so I'll take it. All right, moving to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Campbell, Jesus Christ. My co-host, Aaron Campbell. Aaron Hamburger.
Hold on.
And Ruben Burrito.
Thanks for, exactly. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this as the sign out.
Oh,
thanks for watching another episode of Magic Fries. With my co-host Aaron Hamburger and Ruben Burrito. Okay, keep going.
You guys for watching or listening, and we hope you support us at patreon.com/magicfries. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes and Spotify, or join us here next week. Same time, same place.
And same temperature, and same temperature, and same time in the oven.
But same toppings, though.
Yep, same toppings.
Ooh, I like that. I like that for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.